It's now time for the Lee County Yellow Jackets Coaches Show with head coach Steve Bordeaux. We now take you to Keith Womack, your host for tonight's program.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Yellow Jacket Coaches Show with Lee County head coach Steve Bordeaux. I'm Keith Womack, and I'll be your host tonight as we discuss last week's victory over the Fuquay Varina Bengals, as well as our upcoming game Friday night with the Union Pines Vikings. Our Coaches Show each week are brought to you by some great sponsors, and we'd like to especially thank Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau of Tramway, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Fix-It Plumbing, Jones Printing Company, and also Brick Capital Video. These sponsors will bring you our Coaches Show every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock on 105.5 WFJA. And of course, they'll be rebroadcast again 1 hour prior to game time. This week, it'll be 7:30, so we'll air at 6:30 this game prior to the 7:30 kickoff. We're going to take a short break and hear from our great sponsors. We'll be right back with head coach Steve Bordeaux right after these messages.
Coaches Show sponsors: Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau Tramway, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Fix-It Plumbing, Jones Printing Company, Brick Capital Video.
And welcome back once again to the Yellow Jacket Coaches Show with head coach Steve Bordeaux. And coach, first of all, welcome back. Jackets now 3-1 on the season after a big 26 victory over the Fuquay Varina Bengals last Friday night.
Yes, sir. It was a great game and a great atmosphere, I felt like. You know, Fuquay has a very nice new facility and a very nice, huge new school and layout, so it was a fun game to be a part of.
Yeah, it was a great victory, too. I mean, the Yellow Jackets, of course, winning on the road in a non-conference game, and 20-6. This was a team that was ranked in the top 20 by most folks, and so we knew it was going to be a good game. They were 3-0. They're a 4A school. We're a little old 3A school from Lee County, and to go up there and get a victory was certainly good. But, the Jackets playing a heavy run-style offense, and, did a great job of really holding them down most of the game. You know,
I was really proud of how the defense did play, and we got the stops we needed. And, I thought the atmosphere of the game, it was great. I keep saying they had a lot of fans there. Fuquay had a tremendous amount of fans. They probably had 2,000 people. We had about 150 ride from Sanford to come watch. I think that we could have had more people show up. So that's one thing that I want to see. I want to see let's get some more people at some games. That was a big game. Maybe the biggest away regular season game we played in the last 4 years. So the next opportunity we do have to play on the road, hopefully we get some buses and vans and everybody following us.
I agree, Yellow Jacket fans. We're calling you out. We need more people at our away games. I would also like to encourage you, something that Fuquay did and a lot of the Raleigh schools do very well. Folks, if you're coming to the game Friday night, come out early, do a little tailgate.
Yeah.
Obviously no alcohol on campus, but make sure you come out and bring you some fried chicken and some sodas and bring your family and make it a family event and come out and enjoy the Yellow Jackets Friday night as they get ready to play our first conference game.
Yes, sir.
With the Union Pines Vikings. But, Coach, getting back to last week's game, the Jackets were down 6-0 early after a long run. And, of course, Jacket defense just really settled in after that. Will Patterson in the first half, going 14 of 14 for 177 yards. And the only thing that really kept us out of the end zone more was probably a couple of bonehead penalties. But the Jackets, go into halftime with a 13-6 lead.
Yeah, I thought Will was very, very efficient, and he's been doing that throughout the year. He does a great job of taking what the defense is giving him, not forcing the ball in situations, and we were very productive on offense. Yards-wise was great. We want to see more points be scored when we have a chance to, get the ball inside the 20, 30-yard line. So we have to be better at that point and, get rid of those penalties and still lock in even against a good defense. And talking about they got a run on us. It was a big play, and I really thought, other than that one big run, we really, really did a great job on defense, and we were one play away from having a shutout.
Well, Coach, I thought two of the most pretty plays that we've seen all season both happened in that game. The first one, I can't remember, it was like a 35-yard pass down to Aaron Wallace on the sidelines. It was away from us, so we didn't have a great view of it, but just a beautiful route to watch him run. And then seeing that the quarterback needed help, came back to the ball, and, of course, Patterson put it right on the numbers. That was a big first down for you.
Yeah, definitely. So, and luckily, we worked scramble drill about at least once a week in a period in practice, and we worked it last week. We worked that exact situation. The guys working here, wheel scrambles out this way, we break to this side. So the guys executed the same drill we did in practice, and it happened in the game. It's crazy how that stuff works out sometimes. When we do things well in practice, it translates to the game, and it was a great play.
Well, and Coach, another one. To me, this play did happen right in front of us, and we had a perfect view of it. This was, I don't even know, 19 yards or something like that to Kenyon Palmer, and it was just a little hitch route. So he basically made a little move on the defensive back and then went around him, had the sideline. It was good coverage. He only had about a foot or so, or a yard maybe on him, and Patterson just laid it right in there for a big first down, right in front of John and I thought it was just a beautiful play.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great route and great timing, great throw by Will, and it was a big situation. It actually ended up leading up to our touchdown right before halftime. Kenyon caught, a 19, 20-yard pass, whatever it may be, and got out of bounds to stop the clock. That was a big play to kind of springboard that whole drive.
Yeah, that was Aaron Wallace with that 54-yard touchdown pass. Coach, that was with 6 seconds left, and again, another one of the most beautiful plays we've seen all season. It was kind of the same. What do you call that little pattern where
so a little tunnel screen.
Right.
Aaron is pretty much going to be the fastest guy every time he steps on the field. Aaron can really, really, really run. So we knew when he caught the ball, once he got going north, it was going to be some trouble.
Well, and what made that play work is they were playing so far back, just trying to prevent the long ball, that they gave him a chance to catch the ball and really get up some speed. He made two nice moves, and of course the Jackets go in for their second score with 6 seconds left in the half. The only other score of the game, after a nice drive by the Jackets, of course Jennings goes over from 2 yards out, and of course that is your final score, 20-6. Jackets go to 3-1 on the season, beat a team that was undefeated at the time, 3-0 Fuquay-Varina, now 3-1 as well out of the 4A conference up in Raleigh. And so a big victory for the Yellow Jackets. Just some individual accolades. Coach Will Patterson ended up 19 of 24, 223 yards. More importantly, no picks, no fumbles or anything like that. Then Kenyon Palmer had 5 catches for 64 yards. B.J. Brown had 1 catch for 4 yards. Eli Garrison, 3 for 36. McKendall had 3 for 23. Aaron Wallace, of course, 2 big catches for 56 yards. Kendall Morris with a catch for 11 yards, and Jalen Person, 1 catch for 32 yards, so a total of 223 yards on the night. And rushing the ball, of course, B.J. Brown continues to do nice work. Not a big game, but, we put the ball up in the air quite a bit. He had 11 touches for 61 yards. Jennings with 6 carries for 40 yards. I thought he did a nice job. Did notice a couple of times you brought in what we consider the heavy package, which is Jennings and Johnson. And I thought that turned the tide on that 1 touchdown drive because all of a sudden we started moving the ball a little bit better. And but both sets ended up playing well. Again, Yellow Jackets with a big victory. And, of course, hard to complain about being 3-1 at this point in the season.
Yeah, definitely proud of how we're progressing. And, every week when we can name 9 or 10 guys in that little segment, I think that's a good thing. We're playing a whole lot of guys on offense, and a lot of those guys are playing defense. So us to be able to be multiple and have multiple guys we can count on just continue to allow us to do that. If we didn't have those guys that could step in and take very good reps and make plays on offense, we wouldn't be as good on defense. So it all goes back and forth.
Well, Coach, just giving everybody a little bit of feel for what happened around the conference last week in Week 4. Of course, Lee County defeated Fuquay-Varina 20-6. Fairmont was scheduled to play Southern Lee. The Cavaliers had, because of COVID protocol, ended up canceling that game. Scotland County goes down to South Carolina. That was a game I think they called ahead to try to get because of some COVID protocols. But Scotland gets the 20-16 victory over Marlborough, South Carolina. Grimsley comes in, one of the top teams in the state, comes in, defeats Pinecrest 28-14. 71st with a big victory over Hope County, 40-0. St. Paul's came in, beat Friday night's opponent, Union Pines, by a score of 48-6. And of course, Richmond County was in a tug as well, playing Southview, and really pulled that game out late, but came up with a 23-15 victory. And of course, tonight's game Friday night's game right here on 105.5 WFGA will be Union Pines coming to Paul B. Gay Stadium and then play in Lee County. The Cavaliers were scheduled to play Richmond, but it's been postponed till October the 12th. We'll tell you more about that as the season goes along. Scotland County will be at Hope County, and of course Pinecrest tonight will be idle. Coach, I want to talk a little bit about some of the offensive stats that we've gotten so far this year. Now that we've completed 4 games, I think it tells you a little bit about some of the outstanding offensive players and defensive players. Of course, Will Patterson, 58 of 95, 61%, somewhere around that 62, 63 is where most of the quarterbacks have been over the last couple of years. 879 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Were both of those against Glenn?
They both were against Glenn,
Yep, and that was an extremely talented team. Brown is leading the way for the Yellow Jackets rushing the ball, 48 carries, 255 yards. McKendall leading the way receiving the ball for the Jackets, 16 catches, 248 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kenyon Palmer with 13 catches, 218 yards, and 2 touchdowns as well. Obviously, those are your 2 go-to guys.
Yeah, without a doubt. That group of guys you mentioned, and there's about 12 more of them we can go through. So when you get a chance, everybody go by and check out on the website, WFGA's website, and just go and scroll through the stats. They do a great job of keeping them up to date. And, a lot of the boys are getting stats this year. But one of those that I'm really pleased to see, anytime we can be 60+% completion percentage and we're going 4-1 plus turnover, touchdown to turnover, we can live with that.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, thank you for the insight on last week's game. Of course, we're going to take a quick break here from some of our sponsors. And when we come back, we'll talk with head coach Steve Bordeaux. We'll look ahead to the Union Pines game. We're going to do a little segment on getting to know the Yellow Jackets. We're going to feature the special teams this week. We'll also talk about our Norman Financial Group offensive and defensive players of the game. And we'll also talk about our coach's player of the game, of course, sponsored by Wilkinson Chevrolet. All that and much, much more when we return.
Coaches Show sponsors: Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau Tramway, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Fix It Plumbing, Jones Printing Company, Brick Capital Video.
Welcome back once again to the Yellow Jacket Coaches Show with head coach Steve Bordeaux. I'm your host, Keith Womack, and Coach, this is the time that we enjoy talking about it because we get to talk about some of your kids. And tonight we're going to get to know the Yellow Jackets, and our feature is going to be on the Lee County Yellow Jackets special teams.
Yeah, so special teams all starts out with Kennedy Hernandez. Kennedy's our kicker, and he's doing a great job on it. Kickoffs and kicking field goals. He's had a couple field goals from distance this year and very, very accurate on PATs, and is allowing us to do some of the things we want to do in the kickoff game, whether it's kicking it deep some games, pooching it, or onside kicking it. He's kind of like a jack of all trades there, doing that while he's actually playing on a senior on the soccer team too. They're having a very good season. So Kennedy's all over the place for the Yellow Jackets. And then we have Landon Johnson snaps on extra points so Kennedy can kick it. Eli holds. And then Landon catches snaps from Mark Schlesinger when we punt. So it's a definitely a group effort of guys and special teams is a huge thing for us. We spend as much or more time than anybody, I feel like, in the state on special teams. We take pride in it, and those are some guys that are big parts of it.
And, Coach, I know that you put some speedsters back there when you are receiving kickoffs and punts.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about those guys as well.
Yeah, so our kick return guys, B.J. Brown, Tyreek McKendall, Aaron Wallace, and Kenyon Palmer are all guys that rotate in the back. And when we do punt return, or we try to block punts, but when the other team is punting, Eli is the guy that's back there returning kicks. And it's just a great group of kids that really understand their role and what they have to do.
Well, Eli seems like such a sure-handed guy, and don't know that he's dropped any.
Yeah, I hope not. That's the baseball player coming out too. A lot of multi-sport athletes doing things for the Jackets.
Well, Coach, a lot of these players we've mentioned during this next segment we're going to talk about. Of course, we've got some great sponsors with Norman Financial Group, and they allow John and I to pick our offensive and defensive players of the game. And, of course, last Friday night against Fuquay, we thought a couple of guys had some outstanding performances. And we'll start on the offensive end. Our player of the game from Norman Financial Group was Kenyon Palmer.
Yeah, Kenyon is just consistently doing his job. Made a really nice play coming out to help set up the touchdown right before halftime. He's doing a good job blocking, and really, he's playing both ways. So he was the offensive player of the game, but he also had the pick that kind of set up our last drive to finish it. So on both sides of the ball, Kenyon's getting it done.
And, of course, our Norman Financial Group defensive player of the game, a kid that we've called out several times. In fact, may hear his name more than once tonight.
Yeah.
And that is our defensive player of the game. He was all over the place Friday night, and that's JoJo Jennings.
Yeah, Joe had double-digit tackles. He made helped make the stop when they faked a punt. He was in part of the situation where we blocked the kick. They had to block him, and Landon comes free. So in special teams, he was doing his job. He scored 2 touchdowns, and he had 10-plus tackles. JoJo's all over the place on last Friday.
Yeah, we were making a joke between commercials after the game last week that our offensive player of the game had a pretty big pick.
Right.
And then we had our defensive player of the game that scored 2 touchdowns. So kind of ironic. Another award that we like to give out is our Coach's Player of the Game, sponsored by Wilkinson Chevrolet. Coach, you and your coaching staff picked that player for the overall best game, and, of course, they'll get their name inscribed on this trophy, which will be placed over at the high school at the conclusion of the football season. And, of course, our Wilkinson Chevrolet Player of the Game this week, JoJo Jennings.
Yeah, it was tough not to pick Joe. Kenyon gave him a run for it, but as all those things we talked about, making 10-plus tackles, stopping their fake punt, and scoring 2 touchdowns in a tight football game. JoJo was the guy this week to be the player of the game, and we appreciate Wilkinson Chevrolet letting us do that.
Well, Coach, in the time we've got left, let's talk a little bit about Friday night's opponent, the Union Pines Vikings. Of course, a big loss last week in their game, but this will be the first conference game in the new conference. Lee County hadn't lost a conference game in 3 or 4 years, so no pressure. Just hopefully go out there and get a victory. But tell us what you know about Union Pines, and tell us a little bit about their offense and their defense.
Yeah, so they have a somewhat new coaching staff. Coach was there last year, and they kind of Coach Cox left and went to Fairmont, and he went back home. So they have a lot of the same guys, but they're doing some different stuff. So offensively, last year they slung it around. This year they're trying to run the rock. They're doing a pretty solid job of moving the football, running it. They've got caught up a couple times, and hey, it sounds familiar. Some penalties got them, and they turned it over a couple times. After they've had some successful plays, so they have number 14 for them is a stud athlete as a sophomore. He made a lot of plays last year for them, and he's still there. They're getting him the ball in a lot of different ways. They have a real big receiver outside that has only been able to play 1 week so far. So they've got some talent on offense, and they're just feel like starting to get comfortable. You can see through the games this year, they've gotten a little bit better each week. So we got to make sure that this ain't the week that they figure it all out.
Well, you're talking about number 14. He's a great athlete, and it's like Coach Bowden talked about Charlie Ward back in the days. You find your athlete, your best athlete, you get him the ball. He'll make something happen. And that's what you got to do, and I'm certain that we'll see him a lot on Friday night. Tell us a little bit about it real quick. Is there any game information as far as getting tickets? Because we want to see Yellow Jackets fans pack the stadium Friday night.
Yeah, so this Friday, the tickets are for all the rest of the year. They should be on GoFan. So go to gofan.com, type in Lee County. The tickets will be there. You can go ahead and purchase it in advance to help you roll through the gate quick. It's going to be Military Appreciation Night, so we'll have a little ceremony during that. It's also Youth Football Night. So any of our local youth leagues, the middle school teams, they show up wearing their jersey. They're going to get in and get recognized as well. So it should be a fun night of football.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to it, and Coach, best of luck against the Vikings.
Thank you very
Friday
much.
night.
Yes, sir.
We're going to take another short break and hear from our Coaches Show sponsors. We'll be back right after these messages.
Coaches Show sponsors: Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau Tramway, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Fix-It Plumbing, Jones Printing Company, Brick Capital Video.
And welcome back once again to the Yellow Jacket Coaches Show with head coach Steve Bordeaux. First of all, Coach, want to say thank you for coming in tonight and talking a little Yellow Jacket football with us.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. It's fun as always.
Well, we'd like to remind everybody that you can join us on 105.5 WFJA this Friday night at 6:30 prior to our game time at 7:30 against the Union Pines Vikings. Our coaches show will be posted on the WFJA website and the WFJA Facebook page each Wednesday by noon, and we invite you to watch and share this week's show. We hope that you will take these opportunities to join us this season on the only radio station that brings you Yellow Jacket football live as it happens. We'd also remind you to check out the WFJA website, go to sports, then high school football, and you'll see a choice of pages to include the results page with complete game articles posted by midnight after each game on Friday. The conference standings, power rankings, schedule for all the teams in the Sandhills 3A, 4A conference, and up-to-date season stats for the Lee County Yellow Jackets. Of course, we'd like to wish you guys best of luck as they take on Union Pines this Friday night. We'd like to thank our sponsors for bringing you our show tonight. Of course, they are Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau of Tramway, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Jones Printing Company, Fix-It Plumbing, and Brick Capital Video. Thank you for listening to WFJA Sports. Get ready, Jacket fans. It's time once again for Yellow Jacket football.
You've been listening to the Lee County Yellow Jackets Coaches Show with head coach Steve Bordeaux and show host Keith Womack. On behalf of all the Coaches Show sponsors, we thank you for listening to tonight's program. This has been a production of WFJA and WWGP Sports.